This is JFI Radio.
Live. You are very welcome.
Listening to JFI Radio. Here's the latest training, learning, and quality improvement news from around the globe.
In Latvia, here in Hanover, in Dubai. Have a fabulous day. JFI Radio now.
Oh my goodness, Nkechi, you absolutely wonderful, wonderful star. There's a rookie error. You would think, wouldn't you, that after all these years, I might, just might, know what on earth it is I'm doing. You'd think that, wouldn't you? But it seems that my audio wasn't on. Oh my goodness. Nkechi, would you like, thank you. Nkechi, by the way, she's all over in Port Harcourt in Nigeria. Nkechi, will you do me the great favour of letting me know, can you see everything now? Are we there? Can you hear me? Can you see me? It's up now. Thank you so much. Well, it seems like, you know, do you know what? I said this was live, didn't I? I said that this was live, and it so is. And oh my goodness. Do you know what? It feels like I'm going to have to start all over again. Well, maybe not all over again, but I'm certainly going to do a little bit. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone that didn't hear that first time round. Oh, I feel so embarrassed. What a rookie error. One more look to the camera. Hello, this is me, embarrassed. Didn't have... Why on earth did that click off? No idea where the audio clicked off, but there you go. Yosefa Fawcett, that's me. JFI Radio Live, that's this. Broadcasting to you around the world, as proven by Nkechi. Thank you. Yes, we are there. Let me just cover in minute bits what I was saying earlier. And that is, this really is a podcast for everyone who wants to make sure that they are future ready and they have future ready capability for that thing called the future of work that we don't really know exists yet. And hopefully giving you some ideas and insights into management, into leadership, into business training, into quality, lifelong learning, excellence, and obviously a little bit of emerging tech along the way. I love my AI. And for those of you that have actually been onto my JFI Radio website, you may also know that I'm really into the quantum era in professional development, a term I coined back at the end of April. And I'm going to be bringing you loads of stuff about the quantum era. But today we're talking about this word called stewardship. And stewardship, as I mentioned briefly while the microphone was off, how silly. It's all about how you take responsibility and care for the people in your team, in the workplace, their growth, their development. And it's a word that's used less than leadership, but it's a really important word. And if we use it and just pivot a little bit and go towards what I was talking about, which was the talking about feedership. Do you know what? Maybe I need a coffee. I'll need a coffee after this. Feedership. What I meant was leadership and feedback and feed forward. Then maybe stewardship fits into that incredibly well. Do you know what? This proves that it was live. It is live. And I tell you why. Because if this was pre-recorded, I would have edited out all of that beginning part of the podcast and only given you the beautifully edited, perfect podcasts that are out in the marketplace at the moment, instead of my mistaken one. But do you know what? I've been doing this for 11 years. You wouldn't think it to listen to me and watch me, would you? But I love the beauty of live. So do you know what? Yeah, warts and all, that's what live brings you, but it's so exciting. Okay, let's get back to stewardship. Let's get back to feedback and why perhaps, just perhaps, we don't do it as well as we might do in the workplace. Maybe we are a little worried about what we're doing and how we're saying it and how it might land with somebody, particularly if they didn't ask for feedback. That's a key issue. But if you're a manager or you're a team leader, it is part of your role to develop your team and to give them that kind of feedback when it is needed, not 5 years later, but do it when in the moment, because that's when it's best received. But you do need to be careful about the language you use and how you wrap it up. And so that was where we got to before Nkechi very kindly told me that my microphone was off. Now it is on. I want to, that's brought you bang smack up to date very quickly. And I want to talk to you about a distinction that I think maybe changes everything between this thing called feedback and feed forward. Just let that lie for a minute. So feedback, as the name suggests, looks back. It tells you what went wrong. It tells you what you maybe should have done differently, what didn't land, and it's useful. But it's also finished, because in actual fact, you can't change what's already happened. You can, however, not repeat it. And that's where it starts to get interesting. So feed forward is very much about looking ahead. And here's what I think would help you next time you're ever in that position to do feedback or feed forward. And what I think is the next growth edge, and it's developmental. Feed forward is about a person's future, not their past performance. And that's stewardship in itself. Now, what is really interesting about this is that what you're holding in this kind of conversation, what I'm trying to share with you, is that I want to document something with you because I genuinely care about the people that I give feedback and feed forward to. I like the idea of helping them develop and change and grow. And I just want to leave you with that thought just for a moment, because it is something that is worth exploring further and something worth doing. Now, I usually take a break in the show round about this moment, and what I used to do was a full global news report. That now has changed because global news has developed a whole life of its own. It's evolved, and it now has its own podcasts coming up later this month. So I now have a roving reporter, and I'm going to go over to him. James, I hope you're there. My roving reporter who's going to tell you all about what's coming up in the global news later this month.
This is JFI Radio.
Live.
Good morning, Yuzefa. This is JFI Radio Global News. Coming to you on the 15th of June, we have the talent crisis, women locked out of the workplace in South Asia, and EU pay transparency laws. 6 regions, 4 minutes. Listen in at jfiradio.com in the global news section. Back to you.
James, thank you. Thank you so much. And you're going to be seeing and hearing a lot more from James because he's actively involved in helping me produce the JFI Radio shows. And as I said, don't forget to go to jfiradio.com, global news section, and you'll be able to catch the full 4-minute global news on June the 15th. Let's go back to the topic of feed forward. Now, I've done a lot of teaching at various universities all around the world, and I've had the great pleasure to work with one particular executive dean twice now. Who knows? Maybe a third time in the future. His name is Dr. Simon Jones. Simon, I know full well that you're busy working with meetings today, so you can't be here live to join me, but big shout out to you, because What's been so interesting is the last time I worked with Simon, he introduced a really valuable way to provide lasting and meaningful feedback to students that I was teaching regarding their submitted work. So it might well be for their formative work or their summative work, but the formative is where it was really important. And he introduced that to me and to my faculty colleagues, and as a way to help students really move forward. It was more than just meeting targets and looking for grades and things. And it did two particular things. First of all, it forced us as educators to really consider what might make their work so much better and think very carefully about what that would be. And that was the first thing that hit them and hit us, which is, how could it be even better? And that word even does a lot of work here, because it's not just you got it wrong, because actually in an awful lot of cases, many of the students didn't get it wrong, but it could be even better. The other thing why it's so useful is it helps learners, whether they're students in higher education or whether they're learners in lifelong learning in VET, or whether they're on corporate training programs. It helps them take on board something that's more meaningful than just the grade. And you know full well that when we get something back, we're desperate to know, well, what grade was it? What mark did I get? And I know that's important, don't get me wrong. Of course it's important. But is that the first thing that we should really be jumping for? And so we need to re-educate the way people look at feedback and feed forward and what could be done even better. And that word even, I said to you, does a lot of heavy lifting, but it actually changes someone's mindset to, this was good, but I could make it better. And after all, isn't this what we want students and learners to do, to change something? And of course, if you're not in academia, that's fine. Use it in appraisal and performance reviews as well. That tiny word, even, or two words, even better, already suggests that you value what someone's done. And here's the next step. Okay, let's move into the final part of this podcast show. And I often, and have for decades, told my learners, whether I'm teaching or doing corporate training, that without that teaching and training, if you don't have action alongside it, then learning hasn't happened. It just hasn't. So if I want to bring this particular podcast episode to an end, I want to challenge you to do something differently in the workplace next week. Now, it doesn't matter whether you are a manager or a team leader or an executive director, or do you work with someone with whom you can give feed forward support? I bet you do. And perhaps this would be a good technique, this feed forward, a good technique to use with them. But prepare them first, okay? Don't go in gung-ho without any prior knowledge. People hate that. And when they don't know what's coming and it's uncertain, and also it may not land properly, it may not give you the right result that you're going for. The whole idea is for this to work in your favour and in their favour too. Maybe before your next performance development conversation, ask yourself, am I here to evaluate or am I here to develop? Two very, very different questions. And the person sitting across from you can tell the difference immediately. Now, I know which of those two questions, am I here to evaluate or develop? I know what I'd like to experience, and guess what? So do you. Now, if today's podcast has sparked anything in you, any interest or any curiosity, then I really hope that you would like to learn a little bit more. You can see from the ticker on the bottom of the screen that when the next podcast is actually going to run, which is on the 11th of July. And you might also want to write to me and tell me where you are and what you're doing and which resonated with you. Of course, if you want to now and you're listening, you could type into YouTube or Facebook into the comments as Nkechi did before, and I will know you're there and you can ask me a question if you have now. And I'd be more than happy to answer you. But if you're curious and you actually want to know a little tiny bit more and want to talk to me, then book an exploratory call. It's really easy. Go to jfi.as.me. Let me give you that again. jfi.as.me. And the link will be in the show notes. There are lots of different meeting options that you can choose, and we can meet in person and we can meet online. You know what? Thank you so much for being with me here today. My apologies for the little hiccup at the beginning. And thank you so much, Nkechi, for pointing that out to me. I am so not going to make that same mistake again, I can assure you. Thank you all. I look forward to seeing you, hearing from you, talking to you next month. And as I said, don't forget the global news on the 15th of June. Have a fabulous month. Thank you. Bye.